performance issues. The game is crashing constantly. For some people, it's not even starting because it's crashing on launch. And for other people, even when they get past those issues, if they get past those issues, they have to deal with the piss poor performance of the game. Such an interesting launch. It's not just related to PC gamers. No, there's people who play it on consoles which have the same goddamn issues. So that's a wonderful launch for a game that's trying to compete with Dark Souls, right? You know, a wannabe Dark Souls, right? That's how I would see Lords of the Fallen. It's trying to emulate Dark Souls, it's trying to be like Dark Souls, and it's trying to have the same success. Well, say what you will about the PC version of Dark Souls, at least it wasn't constantly crashing for a lot of people. It was crashing for some people, and obviously you had the issues with the controls, of course, as well, but at least you could start the fucking game and play it, or most people could start the game and play it. And then with mods, with fixes, they could, you know, run it no problem. With mouse and keyboard, like myself, I played Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2 with mouse and keyboard, no problem. In this case, it's just performance issues. Controls are just fine, rebindable keys, video options. Though the video options aren't saved for some fucking reason. When you switch between presets, they're saved, but others, specifically anisotropic filtering and VSync, they will not generally be saved. You have to go into the config file to switch that, so good job on the part of the developer right there. So it's optimization issues. Also, it's implementation of physics to a certain degree, though keep in mind even people who with AMD cards who don't have physics, you know, by default because they're using AMD cards, still have performance issues, massive issues with the game. And there's also DRM. Yes, I'm not kidding. They implemented a new shiny form of DRM for this game. It's called Execryptor. Someone posted this on Steam, on the discussion board for this game. He posted that this game is using Execryptor as a form of DRM, and that this form of DRM can significantly impact the performance of the game. Now, other people have mentioned that this is not how this DRM is supposed to work. It's not supposed to affect performance so badly. In fact, on the site of the developers who made this DRM, it's specifically stated that it's not supposed to affect performance to such a large degree. But that's if it's implemented well, and I'm pretty sure when it came to SimCity, when it came to Diablo 3, when it came to Witcher 2 actually, the developers didn't want the DRM to affect the game or the games in such a poor way, and yet, you know, they did in every single case. And yes, I mentioned Witcher 2 because yes, Witcher 2 did have DRM. On the retail copies of the game, they were forced to put DRM thanks to Namco Bandai. They got sued by Namco Bandai when they removed it about a week after the game was launched. But when they did remove it, the performance of the game increased by about 20%. There you have it. And the game ran far better for a lot of people. It's not just frame rate, by the way. It's also the game being a lot more stable for a lot of people. You know, a lot of people had problems with the game crashing on them. So this is what happens when developers try and shove in DRM. Yeah, it's not enough that this game is only on Steam, right? We can't have it on GOG, God forbid. We have a DRM free version of a AAA game, or in this case, I would say it's middle market, really. Of a middle market game, right? No, we have to have DRM, and we can't just settle for Steam. No, Steam is not enough. We have to prevent those dirty pirates from cracking our game. Now, if it was just some random dude posting this on Steam, I would not have taken it all that seriously in of itself, though it is a reasonable explanation. We've seen it in the past. Why would it not be the case here? But then I checked torrent sites, because this form of DRM, as this guy mentioned, is not supposed to be very easy to crack. And I checked torrent sites. The game files are there on pretty much every single major torrent site, but there is no game crack available yet. So that's kind of telling. So like, perhaps the DRM is effective, but comes at the price of the developers screwing over their consumers, people who spent money on the game. And well done on their part. And just for the record, someone will eventually crack the game if they're not working already on that, and they just haven't really cared about this particular game in itself. Just because the crack is not available in the first few days of the game being launched does not mean that the DRM of that game is very effective. It just simply means that perhaps hackers didn't care about it. I've seen that in the past, and it wouldn't surprise me that when it comes to this game, especially considering how many big games are coming out right now, then when it comes to this game, which is not a big game, it's not in the spotlight for a lot of people, that they just wouldn't give a fuck. Especially with Civilization Beyond Earth being released a couple of days ago, that's a big game. That's a really huge game. And that, by the way, was hacked. That was cracked. There's a crack available for Civilization Beyond Earth at the moment. There is no crack available for Lords of the Fallen. Go figure. Will that change? I think it will, eventually. But... and then, when there is a crack available, I think it's going to be quite telling if people who get the crack have the game running better for them than, actual customers. People who actually bought the fucking game. In which case, well done. Really, well done. I think it's not just the DRM, I think it's the poor optimization, I think it's also physics to a degree. But it cannot be denied that DRM has screwed game developers in the past, screwed gamers in the past. Things like this have happened in the past. Why wouldn't not happen again, really? Give me a good reason why this would not happen. Oh, developer A puts DRM B inside of this game to prevent the game from being cracked. They succeed for a time, but they screw over their consumers. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. When will people learn their fucking lesson? When will they understand that this will not be effective in the long run? Because screwing over thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands even, potentially, of your own consumers just to add shitty DRM to the game so you prevent anyone from pirating it is not really a good business decision. It's really not a good business decision. And by the way, this game has had a day 1 patch and a patch more recently, patch 1.1, and the issues still persist. In fact, the issues got worse with the patch 1.1 for certain people. So there you have it. I will start my let's play of this game because I do have it running right now. I just simply switched to using Windows 7 compatibility for it. I'm using Windows 8. And that worked to resolve the crashing issues, at least. Not the performance issues, but, at least I can run the game. Just a point about the game itself, it's not really exceptional. I mean, it does Souls combat very well, but the bosses are nothing to write home about. The enemies in general are not really that exceptional. There's only about 10 bosses in the entire game, with the time taking between each boss about half an hour to, 45 minutes, an hour at most, if you die a lot, if you screw up on the trash a lot, which is not a great deal of time, really. Dark Souls, even if you're a veteran of the series, Dark Souls 2 could take 30, 40 hours, no question about it. For those that weren't, even longer. This game probably will take 20 hours, 10 to 20 hours for, people who are veterans of the series. Even less. If you're just running, doing a speed run of the game, you could complete it in far less than that. Even on your first go, right? If you just skip the dialogue and all that and just focus on getting to the bosses as fast as possible and killing them. Anyway, that's all I had to say. Costin here on Serious Gaming, signing out.